everyone. This is Leslie Jean-Pierre, Geeks and Company Geeking Out, and represent Little Black Village as well as Community Series. And today we are on location in Washington, D.C., and we're here to interview Maceo Thomas. So please stick around and, wow, enjoy the view, and we'll be right back. Ciao.
Hear some kumbaya. When 9/11 happened and Muslims were like vilified all across America and probably the world, definitely more, no, not the world, clearly in America.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I was like, man, I'm so glad I had my Peace Corps experience where I lived with people who were Muslim,
yes,
who took care of me,
yes,
like I was their son.
Oh, yes.
You know. And part of me, going back, this is part of the kumbaya, was like, oh, you know, America's going to get itself together and realize that they need to make better connections with the rest of the world. Was I wrong? Was I wrong?
Opposite.
That was, you know, now I'm like, you know,
Opposite.
20 years later, I'm like,
okay,
what is you thinking? Yeah, but that, and maybe that was what I wanted to believe. But I was so glad that my experience, I had zero experience with people who were Muslim, zero, and
likewise, prior to that,
none. And you know, I think there was a movie, the swashbuckler who, like, you know, the Ali Baba. I mean, the idea was like very, it was a trope, and so to be able to have that experience living with these people who put their pants on one leg at a time, who love their kids, you know, who are trying to survive and do better like everybody else in the world. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I had this experience before, you know, this mass media just started like bombarding us with this idea of how, you know, how evil, you know, Muslim people were. So, you know, and it also makes me think about when I was a kid, Russia was the
oh yeah,
the
yeah.
man. So I didn't get to go to Russia, but I'm sure if I went to Russia, I would be like, this ain't what they're telling us it is.
It's propaganda. It's propaganda. Lots of propaganda, and it goes all around the world. It's not just Americans who do it. Other countries do it too. Because in my travels, you know, I meet people who are like, oh, I never thought, you know, maybe the first time they meet an African American male, they're like, oh, okay, you're not nothing like what I see on TV or anything like that, you know. So that's why you know, number one, I push international travel.
Yeah. That's
why I am a big advocate of Peace Corps, because of the opportunity. I'm not saying, you know, people may differ about it being for everybody. I know it's not.
It's
might
definitely
not
not for everybody.
Exactly, I agree with that. It's not for everybody. However, everyone should know about it.
Everybody.
It's as an opportunity, and other opportunities like it. So that's why, you know, it's important for me to do what I do, where I talk to people and talk, you know, just get their point of view of Peace Corps, but not only just Peace Corps community service and connecting with people and international travel, you know. So that's the important thing. And so it's going to lead me to another question, because recently, and we won't go too depth into it, but what do you think of the agency of agencies like Peace Corps, which I don't really think it's agencies like Peace Corps, but do you think it's necessary? You think that, you know, that that it should still exist where people continue to have the opportunity, you know, to travel? And again, you know, Peace Corps is like, you know, 3 missions and stuff like that. One of the missions is to help people and stuff like that. But the reality is, returned Peace Corps volunteers will always agree that we get more out of it.
Oh, it's no doubt.
And that we get out of it, and as Americans coming back home, then America gets a lot out of it as well. But what's your take?
I mean, without Peace Corps, we wouldn't be sitting here right now having this conversation.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I don't know where I would be. I'd be home, not traveling.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think, you know, there's this idea that as Americans, we shouldn't be getting more out of it than the countries we serve. I don't really agree with that. I think, well, no, I'll say this. I think that there's different prisms that you can look at on that statement. And I think the experiences that many volunteers, me for sure, receive is that we get to open our eyes to the rest of the world in a way that is extremely unique. To live in a village with no running water, no electricity, and a mud thatched roof with a pit latrine, with farmers, helps me understand how people live in a way that no book could ever really experience for me. And so that's all transferable to, again, there's a lot of work that I find valuable, and philanthropy that I think it's important to give money to, of experiences that are similar to things that may not be the way I live my life, or my family has lived its life, but recognizing that service and equity at a level that it's hard to really imagine for a lot of people. And these people become leaders in their personal life amongst their family and friends, but they also become leaders in industry. They become leaders in government. They become leaders in philanthropic organizations that go out and do service, not just in the countries we serve, but all over the world, including communities here that we have back at home. So I'm clearly Peace Corps is part of the American government. The American government and the country was foundationally built on a racist structure, exploiting labor of black people, and that's always going to exist, past our lives, past any grandkids we finally maybe figure out. Okay. And so I say that to say that it can always do better in just being inclusive. And I mean, if we're gonna disband Peace Corps, that happens when we disband the whole federal government.
Exactly.
But I do think it's the toughest job you ever love. It's a challenge. It's a personal challenge. It's a physical challenge. It's a psychological challenge.
Absolutely.
It's a linguistic challenge.
Definitely.
It's an environmental challenge. I don't know that I've ever been hotter in my life.
I agree.
And some people would say colder in their life. But it's a great way to me, I think, for people to strengthen themselves and then consider ways to share those strengths.
I agree with you 100%. Again, and this is why I really appreciate you taking the time to come to my on-location studio and talk a little bit about Peace Corps. So now I just hope that people watching this continue the dialogue. It's always going to be a dialogue, and it's important. But action is equally important as well. So but I before we leave, did you want to leave anything with our viewers, anything like that? I didn't want it to be too long, but so did you want to say some final words?
Yeah, I think for me, Peace Corps. I'm here to talk about Peace Corps. I could talk about other things as well, but I think
I'll come back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think the Peace Corps experience for me as a young black man going to Africa, where I could be invisible, not in the way that we talk about black people being invisible in America. Yeah. I could be invisible until I open my mouth, even though people could see the way I walk, we walk differently. Yep. But to be able to have the experience of being in a country where really so many people looked like me was such a liberating experience. It was such a great experience into, again, I mentioned I was a science major, so I really didn't study much about Africa, African history. I didn't know I really didn't know anything. And, I went to Peace Corps, similarly to you, the time before the internet. Before the internet.
Yeah, we did the snail mail.
So they sent us this folder, and it had like one brochure about Senegal. Yep. I might have just been like, whatever. Like, I didn't care. I was going.
Same here.
It did not matter what it said.
Exactly.
It could be like,
man-eating tigers on the loose.
It did not matter.
I didn't care. Exactly. I didn't care. I'm like, I'm going. I mean, what?
So that was my experience to being on the continent of Africa, and it really opened my eyes to realizing, again, I didn't know anything about the African continent. I didn't know anything about Senegal. I didn't really, in America, we don't study any kind of history of Africa.
No, we barely study African American history.
We barely, no.
So go on. I mean, I learned more about African American history when I was in Guinea, actually. And
they knew all of our history.
Yeah, they knew. I knew more, and I was tested. They asked me questions about, who? Soldier Carmichael. Yeah, he lives in Conakry. Like, huh? Who? And then I had to go and find out, with the book.
I mean, that's just.
Really, it's a shame.
That's just American imperialism that other people have to know more about us, and so it was really quite a opening for me to really discover that diaspora. Like, I didn't know much about Haitian history, and it just, I've been to Cuba a few times since Obama opened it. And,
yeah, likewise.
And so it is, I recommend it to, when I meet Black people, and I know why it's harder for us a lot of times. You've got financial issues because, it is a volunteer position. I mean, we get $200 a month. That's what we got. I mean, that didn't go far.
No.
I mean, it went far, but it's not, if you got bills to pay.
I know, it's nothing to send back home.
It's nothing to send home.
But enough to live.
And so, I think those who, when you start talking to people more at the middle school age, to like put that nugget in their head.
Exactly. I advocate for that always.
Yeah. So before they start taking out these loans that become crushing, blah blah blah, it's an experience that really changes people's lives. It's a incredible fraternity, sorority to be in.
Yep. It is.
I mean, like, I don't know when we've seen each other last, but it's been a long time.
No,
it's like, Leslie in town? All right, cool. I'm rolling through. That's it.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's that's the bond that we have as Black people who have served, who are RPCVs. It's a very unique and growing, which is great.
Yeah, I see.
Crew of people. Yeah.
Well, with internet, of course, it helps.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Especially with the Black Peace Corps group on Facebook.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's a big help. And making the connections. Yes.
And again, I would just say it's still the toughest job that you'll ever love. It's not supposed to be easy. It's a way to challenge yourself. Because you're literally going in a culture where things that happen you would have never imagined. Like, I never thought about eating food with my hands. Like, as a regular, this is it.
Yeah.
There ain't gonna be no silverware. If there's gonna be silverware, there's like one spoon.
Okay.
And Daddy got the spoon.
Okay.
Who's taking Daddy's spoon?
Okay.
So I mean, it's so just being able to, really, the way I say it, everything that you thought you knew, you had to question, and a lot of it comes from things that we learned from our parents. My parents came and visited me.
Oh, really?
And almost had to send my dad back home from middle of the country.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He was saying, why is this and why is that? He was the wise?
It was, so I'm speaking French to everybody. So remember that experience I had, like, not knowing what's going on as I just first landed in the country. Here I am already a year and some change in. So I got my language together. but he's showing up. You know, they're showing up. Our parents would show up, and they have to depend. They have to depend.
Oh, yes.
And that's you know, granted, I was probably like 25, so I'm still a young man. They've never experienced me in this way, and I remember our Peace Corps director. He's passed away a couple years ago.
Oh.
He ended up talking to my parents, and he told them, he's like, "Yeah, this is the first time a lot of parents have to flip and experience this through their, you know, depending on their kids." And my dad wasn't ready for that.
Wow.
And he wasn't liking the answers that I was giving him when I was translating. I was like, "Look, back up," you know. Yeah.
Oh,
but let me tell you what's funny. When I finally got back home, his first cousin, they're like 3 months apart. My dad was like, "This was the best trip I've ever been on."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, you know, this was their first time in Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've been to South Africa since, but they'll never have an experience like that. I mean, I would also say to people, if you've got a family member who is a Peace Corps volunteer, figure it out. Go see them.
Yeah, definitely, because you're not going to get that experience. You know, you're getting in the experience with the community, people who are welcoming you there, who want you there. You know, and it's going to treat you right. Because I've seen parents, I've seen family members who've come and they're like, you know, welcome.
And show you an experience that is different. I remember like being on the road and seeing the tour bus of, you know, because it was mostly black people from America who were going to Senegal. And again, Senegal is a French-speaking country. Most Americans don't speak French.
Exactly.
So you get everything translated, which is fine. But, you know, you're on an air-conditioned tour bus and people are treating you like money.
Yeah.
And we are money, you know, in a lot of cases,
yeah.
until you spend time and then you become, you know, Yusuf, you know.
Yeah, part of the family. Yeah.
Part of the family.
Yeah, I was Ibrahim Jallo.
Okay. Oh, Jallo. Uncle Jallo.
I was Jallo.
Yusuf Gano. Jallo Jenny. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, I think this is great. I think I still encourage black folks. You know, I was saying that there was 3 of us who served, and the oldest she turned 50 during our training group.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's no age limit. And she loved it so much. She spent about at least 10 years afterwards. She bought some land in Senegal.
Wow.
She's back home now. But there's an experience there for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big advocate of travel, especially African Americans traveling overseas, and you know, I'm always a big advocate of having the Peace Corps as an option. So, once again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you,
and
bro.
Appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure to comment, like. Until next time, next destination, that is. Ciao.